Hi, my name is Jasper Ian Jones, and I'm a visual effects artist.
And I seek to expand my visual effects knowledge. What I hope to do with this series is come up with an idea, complete it, and then show you my learning process. And today, we'll do something that seems simple enough, but is actually kind of hard. Join me as we start from scratch VFX. Just like in the classic Star Wars films, I wanted to make a model, put it on a blue screen, and then project it onto a virtual background. So I first decided that I was going to film indoors and use the lights that I already own. Though a problem I faced is the lights that I owned weren't as bright or the quality of lights that I needed. And then I thought, why don't I just take it outside? When you're shooting miniatures, there's a few things you need to make sure you do. The first thing you need to make sure of is that everything is in focus. For example, when you're photographing a car, the whole thing is in focus, which makes it feel like it's an actual large object. But when you're filming with a miniature, since it's such a shallow depth of field because you're so close, it makes it feel smaller and more like a toy. So how I combat this was removing my ND and bringing my aperture down. While setting up my green screen, I ran into my first problem. A giant blue screen on a windy day do not mix well. Initially, I put it on the light stand only to realize that the light stand wasn't heavy enough to support it. So I just moved it to my car. At this point, I realized I was losing light, so I had to set up my dolly quick and just try and get a shot. But some more complications arose as I found out that the wind could still blow over my blue screen, and oh boy, it absolutely did. And the whole time I was failing, this little baby deer was watching me. So at this point, I'm losing the angle of the sun I want, and I said, whatever, I'll just get what I can get and go. And at the end of it all, I got a pretty decent shot, so I was like, whatever, let me just go back and see what I can't do with it. So I brought my footage into DaVinci to see how it looked, and it was obvious I needed to reshoot this. So I decided to wake up early one morning and use the sunlight coming in through my window. And I was honestly really shocked about the results. So yeah, I finally got the shot, and now it was time to actually start editing. Before we do that, let's talk about today's sponsor, my grandma. She made me cookies for this video, and I get to eat them and you don't get to. Okay, back to it. So I started working on my blue screen key, and obvious problems arose. It's important to realize that different lenses have different coatings. Some lenses have pink, green, or yellow. And my lens coating was blue, so every time it would flare, there'd be a blue flare with it. And I thought I beat that when I added a piece of duct tape to my matte box to try and reduce the flares, but I didn't spot this little flare right here. I tried playing with different settings, but I couldn't seem to find the right balance. So my solution was to duplicate the image, cut out the parts that were gone, and then put it underneath the blue screen image to then fill in the gaps that were missing. So now that I'm finally happy with my spaceship, it's time to start building out my scene. So I go online and try and find different pictures of space. And I like this one because it was just really wide. I decided to go to Action VFX and download their Planet Pack. So with my scene set, I created my 3D camera, and I forgot to add tracking markers. For the inside and outside shots, I added 0 tracking markers. I was lucky to find a point in the footage that I used that was able to be tracked. And I put the information into my 3D camera, and it actually tracked pretty well. There's one thing I didn't realize was that there was a bump in the camera when it was moving, and it messed up my asteroids. I had to go in and manually correct the bounce of the foreground asteroids to make it look not as janky. Alright, now we're moving on to the big red planet. First, what I wanted to do is I got the top layer and I blurred out the edges a little bit with cropping. Then the background layer, I added a camera blur to it to try and make it more hazy. And finally, I added a solid white layer in the background and feathered that to an extreme amount to give kind of a glowing effect to it. So I didn't want to wait for the entire playback to render, so I just decided I'll just render it, put it in DaVinci, and see how it looks with a color grade on it. So I realized, okay, I can go do something for a little bit. I know it's going to take a while. I'll just leave it alone. And I exported this multiple times and would have to go back and fix something every time. All in all, I was just wasting my time by exporting, and what I should have done was just lowered the quality and watched the full clip in After Effects. I also feel like there's more I can add to it to spice it up. So I decided to add sun and lens dirt. Manually moving it was not an option, so I knew I had to track it. So I thought to myself, I've already tracked the camera. Maybe if I track a singular point that stays in the frame the whole time, that could work. And it took a little while because the automatic tracker was hit or miss, so I had to cut in every once in a while and manually move it. I don't know why I was thinking this, but I found this little wiggly tool and I thought if I drag it to the tracker, maybe my sun will attach to it. And it worked. It 100% worked. I got some lens dirt from Action VFX, followed this lens dirt tutorial on YouTube, and got the lens dirt looking pretty good. And at the end of the day, it added a level of quality that was really nice. So now that we have everything together, we can finally do the film emulation. I'm using a plugin called Film Convert Nitrate, which takes your digital footage and uses over 19 different film stocks to emulate actual film stocks. And the reason why I made it look like old 35mm film, because if it looks more vintage and old, people will forgive the mistakes a lot better. And there's a reason I chose this. I have obvious mistakes, such as no tracking markers. If I played with the screen balancing tool, I probably could have gotten a better key instead of wasting so much time. And of course, there could be more polish done to the ship, but I think the result is pretty good. And there's something to take away from all of this. If there's one thing you can take away from this episode, it's to allow yourself to be imperfect. Allow yourself to learn. Allow yourself to be creative. Any mistake you made can be corrected, and you can always expand upon it. And maybe one day I'll make a really good looking spaceship. But for right now, I'm perfectly happy with this. Get out there, learn, just try to make the best with what you have. Thank you for watching.